Okay, so I told you I was going to start doing more like deep dives into things that I watch, and share part of my uh, life, with you, just to because I find it interesting. Maybe you'll find it more interesting too, rather than to take the idiom and kind of build a lesson around it. I'm just going to watch some content that I watch and then stop it and explain little kind of talking points, little little mini lessons, right? Whatever I think you might uh, struggle with or you might need to have talked about. Okay, so let's see here. What I need to do is go here. Okay, so this guy is Timothy Ward, right? And I watch his channel all the time, right? He's a he's a minimalist. He's a nomad. So minimalist means he doesn't like to have many possessions and doesn't like to spend a lot of money. And he's a nomad, which means that he likes to travel around and change jobs a lot. And he's a philosopher, and he has very like positive things to say. Um, so he's talking about like the American dream, for example. Uh, he thinks that the American dream doesn't have to be a big house with two cars and a lot of debt. He thinks the American dream can be a lot of things. Uh, he sometimes lives in his car, sleeps in his car, right? Uh, but not always, right? Um, he stopped drinking. He stopped drinking alcohol. He's a very positive thinker. He talks about things like life begins at 40, and telling people they should not be negative about themselves. You don't have a character flaw. You just have a character traits, right? So anyway, I just love this guy. He's like, I don't dream. I don't have a dream job. I don't have a dream job. I don't really want to work, right? So he has this kind of alternative views sometimes, and sometimes they're the views that everybody already thinks, and he's basically saying it's okay. So he says, I'm 41, never married, no kids. Here's why. And he's happy, right? So, anyway, there's these videos are great. Okay, so, but we're just going to do a deep dive into one video that, and might do several, but I'm going to start with one. Now, he got his silver, I think a silver play button, which I think means that he got 100,000 subscribers. He got 115,000 subscribers. It's I can show you how to get one of these, which in the thumbnail you can't see. Well, maybe I can show you the thumbnail. Oh yeah, I can show you how to get one of these, how to grow and make money on YouTube, right? And so and he's talking about this silver play button. Okay, so I just chose this randomly. I like a lot of his stuff. How to get started traveling, how to live rent free, just all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, but I might have to actually edit this video because there might be some long stretches of him talking that is not really a teachable point. And here he is, he's talking for like 2 hours in this one. And I don't think you want to watch a more than 2 hour video because my explanation would drag it out to like 4 hours or something. Okay, so I'll have to cut it up somehow. Anyway, let's I've already been watching this to kind of preview the talking.
Because you got nothing to lose. What's going on?
I want to talk about this Bruce Lee looking jumper he's got on here. What's up with that? But anyway, I think it looks cool actually. I like this guy.
On everybody.
So he says, "What's going on?" Okay, so what's going on? So actually, when I meet my buddy from college, he usually says, "What's going on?" Right? And so that just means how you doing? How are you doing? Like what's up? Kind of thing. What's going on? Right? So this is kind of like natural way of speaking. And I recommend that you watch YouTube videos on your own. You're going to learn a ton. But I thought I had the captions on. Are they not on? They need to be on. Okay. What's going on, everybody? And now he's going to say, "It's your boy, Tim." And that's kind of like an African American way of, a lot of African American YouTubers introduce themselves like that. It's your boy, right? I could show you another video where this kind of like a bodybuilder guy says, "It's your boy Chris," right? Well, this guy's name is Tim, so it just means your favorite guy, your favorite person, your boy. Right? It sort of reminds me that just a little reminder that if you're learning a language, now he calls himself your boy, but you should be careful about calling black people a boy, right? For historical reasons, right? Sometimes if I might see my white friend, I might say, "Hey, boy," like that, because that's sort of like I don't know, just the way I do. It's a, "Hey, boy," like a buddy from the gym. But I almost said it to black guy who's my buddy from the gym, and I almost said, "Hey, boy," but then I stopped myself because they wouldn't like that. They wouldn't like that because they used to be called. They would call grown men boy, So don't do that. Just by the way, all right. Not that you would anyway. Okay, here we go.
Is your boy Tim back with another live stream? Welcome.
I don't like his live streams as much as his regular videos because when he's live streaming, he talks to his audience a lot and he repeats himself a lot.
Excuse me. Welcome. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you are having a wonderful evening. Hopefully you had a wonderful day. I'm here. I got a little coffee while I'm still drinking coffee. We got some water on deck.
Water on deck. Water on deck, which means available. Okay? And that comes from like a ship. A ship has a deck, right? And when the captain wanted something, he would say, we need all men on deck, which means to be available to help him with something, or we need three big ropes on deck, right? Means up on the deck and available to be used. Or it also could be referencing like a deck, like, have you ever seen like a DJ? They have two turntables, like they've got two turntables like with vinyl album, and they put this one here, which is the currently playing song, and then the next song is going to be on the other deck, on the other turntable, right? And so he might say something like, a second. He might say something. something like we've got Miles Davis playing right now, and we've got John Coltrane on deck, or we've got Miles Davis on deck and uh, John Coltrane up next, right? Something like that. So could be. But what Timothy Ward is saying is I've got some water on deck, which means just here and available. Okay? So, all right. Okay.
And we're going to have a good stream. This week, I mentioned that I was going to do quite a few live streams because I took like 2 weeks off and didn't really put out any content.
Took like 2 weeks off means about 2 weeks off. Okay, you know that, right?
And I just feel like doing some content. And so I said, if I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams, I want to have some decent topics. And I really want to cover some things that mean a lot to me that maybe I don't talk about a lot or as much as maybe I should or could, and that I think could provide value to the wonderful people in this community. You know, I really want to focus on providing value to the people that spend their time, you know, watching my videos and my live streams. I want to give y'all things y'all can like benefit from, get value from.
Which reminds me, he's talking about his community, and my community is building, and there's people commenting more and more. But for some reason, and it's fine. I don't really mind it, whatever. But my channel tends to be pretty quiet in the comments. And I think it just comes from the sort of the way I deliver things, like I'm the giver of knowledge kind of thing. And people consume it and they just go on about their lives. You know, they make a request or they may say thank you, but there's not too much like discussion, which is totally fine. That's just the way it happened. It is what it is. All right. Okay. All right. So let's go back.
And I know a lot of people in this community.
And you notice how he said, I know a lot of people. So sometimes we say a lot of people, but sometimes when we want to kind of stress it, to add some stress, we say a instead of a. Okay? It's kind of adding stress. I know a lot. A lot. Okay? By the way, this kind of is going to be almost like a podcast. So, you know, it's not going to be that visually interesting, although you can read the captions, right? It would probably be okay if you just listen to this in your car. I know, I think maybe it's Alex who listens in his car, or while you're doing the dishes or whatever. It should be fine. I don't think you're going to miss that much. Okay.
Who consume my content are also thinking about becoming content creators or are already content creators. And I said, I want to do a stream and I want to really talk about my views on achieving YouTube success.
Now, he has been a creator for like 10 years. So it wasn't like he just like got lucky with some viral video. He just did it kind of like I do it, just sort of just brute force uploading. Although he is more, I would say, regular at it than me. For me, there's a long pauses when I don't upload because I'm busy with my job, you know. So.
And the reason I use the term YouTube success, and we're going to get into this a little more later, but like, I feel like there are so many different ways you can be a success on YouTube.
Okay, now, you know, did you notice he did this thing where he said, watch his fingers.
And we're going to get into this a little more later, but like, I feel like there are so many different ways you can be a success on YouTube.
Okay, so one of my subscribers asked me how to use quote unquote. So, okay, it is complicated, but usually when we're trying to say something that other say, people usually say, or that someone said, we would say, we could do like he did, and he'd say, success. Now, why did he do that? Why did he say success? Because he's trying to say that there's different meanings of success, and he's quoting the way other people say successful on YouTube. Probably means a lot of subscribers and money, I guess, and views, right? So, but anyway, he's trying to talk about what people usually say when they say success, right? Now, other people might not see it that way. Maybe he's thinking success could be just enjoying the process of making videos, right? But he's talking about what people say, right? What people usually say. So he goes success. Or sometimes they might say quote unquote success. And they're talking about these written quotation marks, right? When we quote somebody, we use these quotation marks that kind of look like this, right? And they'll say quote unquote, and then so quote unquote success. It means that I'm saying what other people usually say, or what Mike said, or what Jim said. He said, quote unquote, you're an asshole, right? Something like that. Okay. By the way, my opinion is that there's a direct relationship between the amount of times that people use quotation marks and how much of an asshole they are. It seems like assholes use quotation marks a lot, right? Even when they're writing, they use a lot. So I've got this coordinator at one of my workplaces, and when he writes, he uses a lot of quotation marks, right, when he writes. And it just comes off sounding like an asshole, right? So you might not want to use quotation marks a lot, right? Because that makes you sound like an asshole, right? Anyway, but that's just my opinion. Okay, so anyway, but Timothy Ward is not an asshole. It's necessary for him to do that, okay? Because he's trying to say, these are not my words, these are somebody else's words, okay? Language is complicated. All right, so here we go. So he's using these quotation marks, okay? It's okay to use it, just I wouldn't do it too much, right? Okay, here we go. Let's go, Timothy.
Of course, we had to put the silver play button in the thumbnail, you know what I mean? Because I'm very proud of that. But there's so many ways you can achieve success on YouTube. And I wanted to talk about it and kind of give some tips, but also like my views on it. Because I kind of feel like there's a lot of conversations.
And he says, I feel like, which usually means I think, right? But it's kind of like when you say, oh, I feel like, most of the time they're saying it's my opinion, right? But they're not saying it's a strong opinion. It's just like a kind of a feeling, right? Okay.
conversations about YouTube and about content creation that aren't being had. As with everything in life, I think there's the normal, regular conversation, and then there's some other, like, more honest, more real conversation that's not being had. I like to have those conversations.
See, repeats
So,
himself.
we're gonna do that tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Love y'all. Good to see y'all. Gotta always
Shout out, okay, means I'm recognizing you.
out our faithful moderator, Angela, always coming through and keeping the crazies out. So I appreciate that. That's one way that I resubmit.
And notice how he says, I appreciate that. So most of the time when we're speaking, we don't say, I appreciate that, unless we've got, we want to stress it. A lot of times when we're just speaking, we say, appreciate that. So we leave out the A, I appreciate that, right? It's normal to do that.
Discovered how to have even more YouTube success is to get a good moderator. So it only took me 10 years. So
see, he's been creating content for 10 years, and he just got to 115,000. So it's these days, it's like, you know, if you want to make it in YouTube, you have to play the long game.
Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody being in the chat. I was going to take notes for this one, and then I said, no, I want this one to really be like a heartfelt, me coming off the cuff discussion.
Coming off the cuff, right? Means speaking extemporaneously. Like I've taught you this before. Extemporaneously means to, I don't know, off the cuff means to just speak as you're thinking it, right? Extemporaneously means as you're thinking it. Which reminds me that, like, I have my students give presentations, right? And I want them to memorize their script. But I also have some very high-level students. And most of the time, those high-level students, they think, I don't need to memorize this script. I'm just going to speak off the cuff. And they just come out and start speaking extemporaneously. But I don't want that. I don't want that, because anybody can come out there and say, oh, it's like and that, and it's like, but that's not going to make you a good presenter, right? And it's not going to improve your English much, right? Okay, anyway, so I had one kid that did that. He didn't feel like memorizing his thing, so he was like, it's like, and you know what I mean? Like, and his presentation sucked. All right, so, okay, let's go back.
You know, YouTube is a big part of my life, and if I'm gonna talk about it, I don't, you know what I mean?
If I'ma talk about it. So instead of this reads, I'm gonna talk about it, but he actually said, I'ma talk about it. He probably said, if I'm gonna talk about it.
I was gonna take notes for this one, and then I said, no, I want this one to really be like a heartfelt.
Heartfelt means sincere, right? Coming from your heart.
Me coming off the cuff discussion. You know, YouTube is a big part of my life, and if I'm gonna talk about it, I don't, you know what I mean?
If I'm gonna talk about it?
I don't really want to follow a script. I just want to come off the cuff. If somebody has any, you know, questions that might pop up, we can, you know, go into those. We'll get to the Q&A later. But how to be successful on YouTube. Anybody who's got a YouTube channel might just be getting started out or thinking about starting one. I really feel like, you know, do it. You know, one of the best passion projects.
I really feel like, you know, do it means start it. Start your channel without waiting, without preparing, preparing, and that's right. That's exactly right. My YouTube may not be big and successful, but it wouldn't be anything if I hadn't made that first crappy video, right? And my first videos were even crappier than they are now. And I don't know if I told you guys this, but I intentionally tried to make them crappy so nobody would really watch. They would just listen. And so people would get tired of just looking at me and they would just listen to it on their earphones or whatever. Um, but, and I never prepared at all. I did not prepare at all. I just turned it on. And sometimes I didn't even know the idiom that I was going to talk about. Let's talk about, seriously. But the point is that he's trying to make is if you want to start a YouTube channel or your business or your restaurant or your thing that you want to do, just get going on it. I'm sure there's an idiom that's made perfectly for that. I can't think of it. But just get started. A journey, here's a good one. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. That's true. And if you don't take that first step, you're not going anywhere. Okay. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, I think, or one step. Okay.
Side hustles, potential.
Side hustles. Okay, here we go. That's why I love this guy. Okay, side hustles. Okay, side hustles is like you've got a main job. I think I talked about this already. I made a video about it. But side hustles is your side job. Okay, it's always good to have a side job to sort of for like a safety, because sometimes your side hustle might be the only thing that you have if you lose your main job. Okay. My situation is all of my jobs are kind of like side hustles because I work 3 or 4 or 2 part-time jobs and they equal a full-time salary, right? And why do I do that? Well, if one job starts to suck, I can quit it, and I still got to have 2 other jobs, which I've done. So it's a safe way to do things. Okay.
Careers I think you can get into is content creation, and I still think YouTube is the platform that does the most financially and otherwise for creators. That's why when people start downing YouTube, I don't really chime in on that because YouTube has done so much for me. Okay, I look at these other platforms, and yeah, they got a few select.
Okay, so he said chime in.
The most financially and otherwise for creators. That's why when people start downing YouTube, I don't really chime in on that.
Okay, which means to chime in means to kind of agree, and it's almost like, yeah, it means to agree, to chime in and say, yes, I think so too, or to offer your opinion, which is sometimes chime in means like okay. To join or interrupt a conversation by making a remark. Okay. All right. So, chime in. But I think chime in kind of means to like agree. Yes, you do that, Dave chimed in. Yeah, okay. So he's saying that when somebody starts to criticize YouTube, I don't chime in. Okay.
Because YouTube has done so much for me. Okay, I look at these other platforms, and yeah, they got a few select people that might be.
Now notice he used, like, this is bad grammar. That, like it's the way we speak actually, but they're not probably teaching you this in like language school. Should be they have, They got. They've got. They've got. For me, that sounds grammatically non-standard. They got, but of course I use it all the time.
Doing okay. But YouTube is still the platform that has like the most amount of people really getting something, in my opinion, out of it. So if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, I say go for it. One of the tips.
Go for it. I mean, yeah, you know that one, right? Go for it means do it, try it.
I always tell people is don't get caught up in feeling like you have to have like the best equipment right away.
Yeah, right. I started with it, you know, I still have old crap, but like, you know, I started with a really old video camera. But in some ways that camera was better. But yeah, okay. It was kind of like a high quality old camera. Okay.
If eventually down the line you want to have the top of the line cameras and lighting and
Top of the line means the best.
equipment and editing software and all that stuff, cool. But in the
And all that stuff, cool, right? Means, yeah, right?
beginning, you don't need all that. In the beginning, you don't need all that. All
See,
you
why does he repeat himself so much? Okay.
really need these days is your cell phone. I'm gonna see if you can. I was gonna see if you can see my light. There's my light. Y'all see my light? That's the light I have. I think it was like $40 on Amazon. All you really need is your cell phone. You can film using natural light. If you want to spring for, more expensive
Spring for means to spend more money than you would ordinarily spend, right?
light, go on Amazon. You get you a little ring light for $19. Yeah.
And he's got this funny way of saying dollars, right? Dollars, okay.
I mean, get you a little selfie stick. You can get a selfie stick that doubles as a tripod. Like,
Okay, that doubles as means has two uses. Stick that doubles as a tripod.
you can jump off in this YouTube game with the phone.
Jump off means he's using this metaphor like you're jumping off into like jumping off a cliff, right?
That you already have, and maybe spend $50 on accessories. I see way too many people who get too worked up and get too involved in the camera and the lights and the software and all that other stuff.
Okay.
And they try to go out and they end up spending $1,000 on equipment, and then they make like 2 videos. Not to mention, the more overhead you have going into
overhead. Okay, so overhead means your expenses and your fixed expenses. So profit is your income minus your expenses, but your overhead is the money that you have to spend in order to make money, right? So what's my overhead just for this channel? Well, I have to have a place to make it. So, but this apartment doubles as my apartment and my studio, I guess, and I have to have Wi-Fi connection and a camera and a PC. That's about it, right? So, but if you have a lot of like a expensive, like I just use a lamp. I just use a lamp. A couple lamps, right, for my lighting. But if you have a lot of overhead, which just means expenses, then you've got to, it's going to be forever before you ever make any profit, right? Okay. So I think, now this doesn't tell me how long I've been going. That's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? It seems like oh, here we go. I've been going for 35 minutes. So I'm going to stop right there. And as I said, like this video, you can kind of use it as like a podcast, right? Because it's so long, right? And I'm going to continue going through this, and hopefully we can get through a lot of idioms, right? And okay, so I will talk to you on the next idiom.